Yeah. You gotta work. You gotta work, grind, shine, it's mine. Gotta show everybody it's my time. Getting here, you gotta work, grind, shine. Never mind who talking down, cause they lying. Don't talk, you gotta work.
Welcome to Let's Talk with Carl Lee. Let's Talk is proudly presented by attorney Frank Walker. Real talk, real experience, real results. FrankWalkerLaw.com. Let the conversation begin on Let's Talk.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Carl Lee with Let's Talk, and we have a great guest in today, and I'm going to allow my co-host, which is Lisa Odie and Hollis Lewis in the building. I'm going to let Hollis introduce them, and trust me, sit in the whole show.
Yeah. So we have a West Virginia legend, a pioneer when it comes to, not only women's boxing, but I would say women's athletics. Definitely one of probably the first superstars of women's sports in general, in addition to boxing. We have Christy Martin, a.k.a. daughter of a coal miner.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I love that.
Yeah.
It's always an honor to be here back home in West Virginia.
Well, thank you, and thank you for being on the show and coming in the studio. I just have to ask the question, because I watched the show, and I'm trying to figure out, like, where did the love of boxing actually like again, I realized that you kind of just jumped into it and you found that you were just great at it. But what was the thing, like, when did you wake up and say, you know what, boxing is going to be my thing?
You know what? That is a great question, because I'm still trying to figure that out. I don't know, because it's crazy. I mean, I had never seen a woman fight before. I didn't have anybody in my family that was a boxer. I had never been to a professional boxing match. I had been to tough man contests. I don't know why I thought it was a good idea, other than the fact that people told me I couldn't do it. And I got that little bit of, if you tell me I can't, sit back.
So I'm sorry, Hollis, but this is intriguing to me. Okay, so the tough man kind of process for you. So was that kind of like, okay, I'm doing this, I'm doing pretty good at it, I should go to boxing, or you just was a transition out of the blue, and that didn't have anything to do with it. The tough man stuff didn't have anything to do with it. Like, oh, well, I might be able to box too.
No, not really. That's not how it worked. It was crazy, because I did these couple tough man contests back in Beckley, West Virginia, and then I got a call from a professional promoter out of Bristol, Tennessee, that asked me to come fight his girl. Well, I had won like 4 times at the tough man thing, so they didn't want me to do it anymore. And then I thought, you know what? I'm about to graduate from college. My degree's in education. Let me go do this boxing thing one time. So, when you're old like I am now, and people ask you that truth or dare question, you can always say, guess you'll never guess what I did. I did one professional boxing match. So when I did that first fight, I really thought it was going to be one and done. I had no intentions of ever having a career being a fighter. But so I go to Bristol, Tennessee. I fight the promoter's girl, not understanding the business of boxing. When the promoter calls you to come fight his girl, all the cards are stacked against you, right? So I beat the crap out of this girl, knocked her down, and it was a draw. And I'm like, oh, so hold on. That sucks, number one. And then I'm like, that's not a good story. I didn't win. I didn't lose. They asked me would I do a rematch, and I'm like, of course. So now I have a better story for when I'm this age, and I want to tell people that I one time did a boxing match. So I went back and I fought her again like 2 months later. Never been in a boxing gym before. Never had a coach. Never anything. But I knocked her out. And oh my God, was that the greatest feeling in the world? So I knocked this girl out, and the crowd goes crazy, and I'm like, oh, I love this boxing. But still, never in a million years could I imagine that I would be promoted by Don King, fighting on those big cards. I never even dreamed those dreams.
Well, we're going to get to that, but I just want to take a step back, because prior to boxing, prior to the Tough Man, you very athletic. You basketball player, softball player, high school. You're from an area, and I went to Mullins. Now, that area's produced like the Kurt Warners, the Nick Sabans, the D'Antoni brothers. Like, what was it during that era that just produced, and Christy Martin, what was it during that era that produced such great athletes?
Well, I'm going to tell you what produced Mullins High School great basketball players was Coach Don Knuckles. And if people here in West Virginia, at least my age, they're going to probably remember Don Knuckles being the head coach at Mullins High School. Herbie Brooks, the D'Antoni brothers, Jerome Anderson, Mike Anderson, those guys. I mean, that's a little bitty town. We're talking about a town of 2,000 people, and you have NBA guys coming there, coming out of the school. Unbelievable. So I think that, Coach Don Knuckles, he was like arrogant. And so I got some of that from him, though, that strut a little bit.
Confidence.
When you beat somebody, let them know you beat them. And I got a little bit of that. And I got it from Don Knuckles.
So, and on this show, we talk a lot about youth sports and youth development. So do you think that just coming from that very athletic background, once you transitioned to boxing, you were sort of a step ahead of the other females in the ring because you were just, in general, you're just a good athlete besides, the talent you developed for boxing?
I think that, yes. I think that I had a little step up at the beginning for other women because I was an athlete, truly an athlete. I played basketball, played softball. I played basketball over at Concord.
Yeah.
So, I was in a little better shape, had a little better coordination, and a lot more competitive drive.
There you go.
There it is.
I think that, and I can feel that with you. You know what I'm saying? And I think if you are that, if the person is that competitive, they're not leaving the room without a W.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They're not going to let anybody try to get in front of them that they're not going to win.
So, I was just going to ask you, and thank you so much for being with us tonight. I was so excited. I was so pumped about this. Like last night, I'm watching the movie, and I'm like, oh, gosh, I can't believe this. But anyway, so you just mentioned, Christy, that your first pro fight was a draw. But then your breakthrough fight came through when you were on the Tyson Bruno card in March of '96, correct?
Right.
Yeah, walk us through that. What was that like for you? This girl coming from small town West Virginia in the big, the bright lights.
Are you kidding me? I'm from Mullins, West Virginia. I had 86 people graduated in my graduating class. Excuse me. Geez, and here I am fighting under Mike Tyson at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas.
Yes.
Promoted by, the Cards Don King's show. We're on Showtime. We're on pay-per-view. There's not even words to explain how I felt. And
were you overwhelmed? I mean, were you just,
Of course, because look, when I remember getting into the ring and looking out and I knew every person in the first couple rows. Did I know them personally? No. I had seen every person on TV. Wow. I mean, Shaq's there, Sugar Ray Leonard's there, actors, actresses, everybody. Right. Everybody's there to see Mike Tyson. But I got the chance to entertain him a little bit before Tyson came out.
And did you understand the gravity of the moment, being that I believe you were the first female boxer to be in that spotlight? Did you understand sort of the history that was being set that night?
No, and I don't think I really understood it until recently, probably 2 years ago.
Wow.
When Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor fought in Madison Square Garden. And then I thought about, but what if that fight hadn't happened in 1996 with Sauerbrey and really got people interested in talking about women's boxing? Would this fight have happened? And that's when I started really realizing that, hey, I had a little input in building women's boxing.
Absolutely.
Of course, there were women that had boxed before me, way back, 1800s. Women were boxing, believe it or not. But no one had ever been given the opportunity and exposure that Don King gave me.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
What
We're all going to
was
fight tonight over talking to Christy. I can feel it.
What was it about? Did he ever articulate to you why you? Why did he pick you to be in that spotlight?
That's a really great question.
Because, I mean, at the time, for those who don't understand, Don King was boxing.
He was boxing.
And he had been boxing for 30,
You can
40
make the
years
case
at that
he
time.
owned boxing.
You can make that case.
Yes.
So did he ever say, we're putting you in this spot because?
Never. And he never gave me any, I'm going to give you a little edge because you're a female boxer. No, he promoted me just like he did his other, the male boxers. He put me out there sink or swim. He put me in opportunities, just like he gave male fighters. If you go out there and put on a great show, then you're going to get the fight again. And that was my thing. Every time I crossed through those ropes, I felt like I had Don King on my shoulder and that I needed to show out. And so that he would put me on the next big show. And that was kind of like the driving force. And when I would be tired, I got to keep punching because Don King's sitting in row 1 and watching.
Wow. And your power, and again, I went back. Hollis was like, watch the movie. I said, well, I've already watched it, but I turned around and watched it again this morning. Okay. and there was a conversation about you and the power in your punching. And they compare you like to Mike Tyson. And I'm like, okay, so if someone were to compare me in the National Football League against somebody that great, I don't know if I would ever come off of that cloud. Mm-hmm. What is that like? What is that? How does that make you feel? Because in most cases, everybody thinks Mike Tyson is, if nothing, he's probably the best puncher ever. And that's who they're comparing you to. They're saying that's who you are like.
Awesome. I mean, I'm a big Tyson fan. And that's all, like Frazier fan, all the punchers. That's who I like to watch. So, yes, to be mentioned in that same sentence with Tyson or any of those punchers is awesome. And I do believe that for whatever reason, and part of the being a puncher, I think, is in your mentality. Mm-hmm. Like, I wanted to hurt people. I wanted to knock people out. There are some people that want to just rounds. No, I want to knock you out in the first round, get my check, and go home and get started on the next one.
Start the next one.
Get ready for the next one. I just wanted to knock people out. I that's what I wanted to do.
It's crazy to me to look at you and hear what's coming out of your mouth, because it's like it's not.
Well, if you I gave her a church hug and she still rock hard. So don't let all that pink church and all hug. that fool you. She probably still got a nice right hook for you.
It just. I mean, it just doesn't. It doesn't seem like the person that I'm looking at, the person that I'm talking to, is saying this, and I'm watching it on television and seeing that this is how it is. It's crazy to me.
That's what, I don't know if if guys will remember Lucia Riker. That was a big fight. It was supposed to be the first $1 million fight between two women. That was me and Lucia supposed to fight each other back in 2002 or something. But she looked like a dude, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't. So everybody thought she was just going to destroy me. So looks can be deceiving. You can't judge a book by the cover. And I do, I hope that my smile invites people in, and then boom, gotta drop them off.
Drop them off. I like that.
That is perfect. So I know out in the parking lot when we were waiting to come in, Christy, we were talking a little bit about you're promoting events right now for boxing, and mainly you're doing it for male boxing events. And so we talked a little bit about, with female boxing, what do you envision for the future of it? Do you feel like that it's going the way it should be going, or do you feel like it's going in the wrong direction? What's your opinion of that?
I think, love him or hate him, I think Jake Paul's doing great things for women's boxing.
Okay.
He has the card, now it's going to be the trilogy with Taylor and Serrano happening in Madison Square Garden and an all-women's show. I don't really like the all-women's show. I think let's don't separate women's boxing from men's boxing. Let's just have boxing.
Yeah.
And so let's mix it up and let's have some guys. Let Amanda and Katie Taylor be the main event, but put some dudes on there too.
Sure.
But anyway, he's paying them. I mean, I think they're making like double-digit millions.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I
heard
she got
14
robbed
million.
Last time.
So
yeah.
And to that point, I don't like that neither. I think boxing does a poor job of being one note, right? I think that, if you're going to have a big fight, you can have women at various weight classes. You can have men in various weight classes. Like, you don't have to have an all middleweight card or all heavyweight card, or all women, or all men. I think it's better when you mix it up and you have those prominent fights at each different weight class and gender and everything like that.
100%. Because I think that a lot of people are going to tune in because Taylor Serrano is it's a great fight.
Yeah,
it's been a great fight 2 times. Everybody knows it's going to be a great fight the 3rd time. And so they're going to see some of these other female fighters. But I think it's still going to divide the fans. We're going to still have some fans that are not going to watch because it's all women. And that's just that might be the old school guys. Maybe the younger male generation will watch it. And then you're going to get some of the freaky guys also going to watch it because it's all women boxing.
It's all women boxing.
I mean, we got to call it what it is.
Sure.
Because early in my career, I had guys sending me messages, would I spar them? And they wanted to pay me to spar them. I had freaks. I mean, they'd be like, no, we like to see women hit each other. We want to see them get bloody. And it was a sexual thing.
Yeah.
So,
wow.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. That part of that keeps playing in my mind when I think about an all-women's card. Like, I think it hurts women's boxing.
And you said something also, you talked about somewhat along the same lines that you don't necessarily like being considered like the best female boxer. Why are you just not called a boxer? Why do they have to put the female part in it? Because what you're saying is when you say it's female, you're saying it's something less than or whatever, right?
I agree with you. Well, exactly. And that was the whole thing. When people left the arena, I wanted them to say, wow, Chrissy's a good fighter. She's a good boxer. She's a good female boxer.
Right.
I want them to say she's good.
You think it's because it's been predominantly males, I mean, throughout the years, what people are attracted to on the television, that's probably why they kind of like categorize it, probably.
Yeah,
they shouldn't,
yes, of course,
I mean.
I feel like it maybe I'm blinding my own self, but I believe that I did cross over and people started to say, wow, she's just a good fighter.
Yeah.
And that's what they're saying about Taylor and Serrano. I mean, they're just good fighters. It doesn't matter if they're women or
sure
what.
Yeah, I would slightly disagree with that because I think that there is a space just for like women's sports, and I would argue, and we've argued on this show, that when I look at women's boxing, it's more entertaining. When I look at women's basketball, now it is more entertaining. It's a better watch. So I think to promote and to to say, hey, this is a women's sport, this is a women's thing, it's not necessarily a bad thing. I think where it hurts, to your point, it hurts when it comes to the finances because they try to lessen it because it's a women's thing, not because it's a better watch. I believe. And I'll say
this to agree with Hollis. When I say female sports, I'm saying it in a positive.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's not a men's thing. It's female and it's something valuable and something that's important. I don't, and I say that to try to figure out like the separation. I don't think, I can't say it's always, the separation isn't always negative, but I think for the most part, I think
it can be.
It can be.
Sure.
But I think for most men, and I'll say, especially if you're an athlete, if you've been an athlete, I think when you're saying female, she's the best female or she's great, my intent is not that. It's not like I'm looking at you thinking that you're we're bolstering you up. Yeah.
As lesser.
Yeah.
You're looking at it as the whole
as
the whole.
Yes.
And that's why, like in the intro, that's why when I refer to you, I think to limit you to boxing is very limited in and of itself, because I think it was a gateway to sports, right? Because a lot of us grew up watching boxing, right? That was the big thing. That was like the Super Bowl every 3 months, right? And we get to see, a female boxer take the spotlight. And now I think what we're seeing 25, 30 years later is just the proliferation of female sports. So when you talk about, like I said, basketball, boxing, softball, to me is going to be the next great one. Softball is going to be it, in the future, I think. So I love the idea of it. I have 4 daughters, so I'm a girl dad. So you know what I mean? So I just definitely love the idea of women's sports and kind of what it represents. But what I wanted to ask is, like, kind of going through your career, once you get, you have those first couple fights, you have you're in that spotlight, kind of, what was your mindset moving forward as far as, like, were you chasing sort of championships? Are you chasing the spotlight? Are you chasing just straight up knockouts? You just want to be just the best there is? Like, what was your mindset after those first couple big fights?
So it was just, I wanted to be the best that was out there. And at that particular time, like, the major organizations didn't even they didn't recognize women champions. So the WBC, which is, to me, the green belt, that's the one everybody wants.
Yeah.
They actually named me an honorary champion. And and then a couple years later, they started ranking women and started actually sanctioning their fights. And the WBA did the same thing. They gave me an honorary title. And that was good enough because I didn't want to fight for the women titles. I didn't feel like I wanted to be part of boxing. And what I felt like was part of boxing was the WBC, the WBA, the IBF, those guys that had been established, not a women's organization. I wanted to be a fighter.
Okay, that makes sense.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I wanted to be
Yeah.
a fighter. So I didn't give credibility to the women's organization.
So did you ever, like, what championships did you hold during your career? Or
the WBC, which is the World
WBC?
Boxing Council.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
When you look at sports today, and you see the women's sports, do you have one that you think? What is your favorite sport? Is it still boxing, or is it something else? And do you feel like that the young ladies are representing their sports the way that they should?
Well, I still watch a lot of boxing. I don't see a lot of women's boxing because it's not.
Yeah,
you don't see it on
televised.
TV. You know. I watch a little bit of basketball because I think Caitlin Clark is a badass.
Oh, that's it. He loves Caitlin Clark.
But my favorite time of year probably is college football. You know,
Oh,
Okay.
I see.
Nice. Okay.
you know, when August rolls around, I'm all about
So-
Saturday.
So speaking of just of women's boxing, I know one of the sort of the controversies is the time limit per round. So currently, if you don't know out there, women fight 2-minute rounds, men fight 3-minute rounds, and I think women's have a max round limit of 10, or is it 8?
10.
It's 10. So what do you think about adding that extra minute? Because a lot of the conversation is like, we'll see more knockouts if we add the extra minute.
Okay. So I'm glad you brought that up because when I first started back in 1989, a long time ago, I fought 3-minute rounds
Oh,
because
okay.
it was just like the guys. I mean, women's boxing was new. Somewhere along the line, it got cut down to 2-minute rounds. But guess what? I still knocked out 31 people. So
who's
I
counting?
don't understand why it's such a big deal. Oh, we need that extra minute to knock people out. No, you don't. You can knock them out in 2 minutes if you can punch. And that's the whole thing. Because in that 2 to 3 minute, the fight becomes boring.
Yeah.
Especially when you get to rounds 7, 8, 9, and 10. I said actually recently, I'm not sure it would be a bad thing if the guys started fighting 2-minute rounds because some of the guy fights have been very boring lately. And that's in jest. I don't mean that. But
No,
I
I can agree with you.
But you're right.
Yeah, you're right.
I
Yeah,
like the
yeah.
2-minute
Right.
rounds because let's go out there and like punch from bell to bell. Let's be exciting. Let's let the fans leave talking about our fights. And I don't think it's a bad thing. And we're not going to get paid more by fighting an extra minute. We're going to get paid the same.
So, and one of the, like, again, I'm a fan of just boxing in general, male, female. One of, like, I like Alicia Baumgartner, I like Carissa Shields, but one of the I guess the criticisms of Carissa Shields, who probably is at the top of the pecking order when it comes to women boxing, is just the lack of knockout power. Like from a technical standpoint,
smiling.
I know, I love it.
from a technical standpoint, for somebody who knows
Mischievous smile.
what do you contribute that to? Because she looks strong, she looks fit. I mean, but she just lacks knockout power.
To knock someone out, you have to be willing to put yourself in position to be knocked out.
Oh.
You cannot be scared. You cannot have fear. You have to have the dog in you. You can talk dog all you want, but you got to show me.
And see, now,
Hey, ain't no more to say.
There you have it.
to me, that sounds like a football conversation. Like if I just heard part of that, that could be a football. Like you either love to hit or you just don't. And
I think the point is like you got to be willing to get hit.
That's right.
Exactly.
So you can love to get hit,
But see, if I'm hitting
I'm
you,
a quarterback. I don't want to get hit.
But if well, yeah, that's okay. Yeah, you're a horrible example.
I don't want no fun.
You know, for me and having a receiver, that receiver's got to be able to be willing to want to get hit, or knows he's going to get hit and he's okay, or hit me.
Yeah.
I think the key words are no fear. No fear. Period. You just have to go
Whatever
lay it
that
on the
sport
line,
is,
right?
yeah, you
Whatever
can't-
the sport is.
100%.
Yeah, and you cannot have. I just can't. To me, boxing would be the sport that you cannot run from. Like if you get in the ring, like I'm not putting on no gloves. You can't You can't put gloves on me and sit me on that chair and hit bell and think I'm coming out.
But I think too, like now, I think what happens now is that there's a lot of like branding around everybody. So now the conversation is like, okay, I can't afford to take that knockdown. I can't afford to take that knockout because even if I win the fight, it could quote unquote hurt my brand. And I don't think that probably existed 25, 30 years ago. It wasn't necessarily like that. It was just a Warriors type of sport where now it's like it's a sport.
And that's why we don't see wars anymore.
Yeah,
that's why we don't see. That's how long has it been since you were jumping up at your TV, like right at the front of your TV, like, oh my God, going crazy because the fight is so exciting. Like, somebody's about to get knocked out. And then you don't know which one. That's somebody.
And you don't know, like for me, I can be honest, I don't think I know in the men's division, like I don't know who's the guy who's knocking everybody out.
It's
like,
not.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think the
Tyson
last
Fury
fight,
retired.
I think Fury and Wilder, but I mean, even that fight was a technical mess. But it was like, and I'm talking the first one, not the second and third one, but the first one it had semblance of that. But that was probably the last ones I saw that was really like a back and forth.
That was a great heavyweight fight.
Yeah,
I mean, they were both going at it. But, yeah, I mean, we just don't have that warrior mentality. We have a lot of people talking it, a lot of people selling their brand, a lot of people talking social media crap, but no one's producing when they get in the ring. And that's why I, as a promoter, I just want to find that old school dude that wants to train his butt off and go out there and just fight. I mean, put on a show for the fans, knock people out. And I have it. Victor Hernandez, he's a little 126-pounder. He likes to knock people out, and he does a little shimmy right on top of him. And, like Lisa, my wife, she manages him, and she's like, he needs to stop doing that. I'm like, absolutely not.
No.
Because now when everybody leaves here, they either love him or hate him. It doesn't matter, but they're going to buy a ticket to come see him fight again.
Exactly.
Now, and I had to shout out Tank Davis too. I think he has that. I mean, his shots are devastating to be 140, 130.
And
So
he is one of those guys that you sit
Davis,
sit there and you see him getting outboxed and you see him losing and you see him, but in the back of your mind, that one punch, it just takes one.
Just takes one.
So
I think technically he's sound. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, you go right ahead.
No,
Finish.
you go ahead.
Okay, so Christy, you're talking about putting yourself out there to get, possibly knocked out in order to knock someone out. So I'm going to take you back to August 23rd, 2003, when you fought Layla Ali. And so that strategy didn't work quite as well that fight, correct? Because I think you guys went 4 rounds and she knocked you out. Did you ever think
I took a knee.
You took a knee?
Difference.
Okay.
Don't play. Don't play.
Either way, Christy.
I lost. But I took a knee.
Is that a fight that you have ever regretted taking on? No? Even with the outcome the way it was, you were good with it.
Yeah, I just wish I could do it again because I really, really feel like it was whomever hit who first.
Okay.
And she hit me first on that night. I feel like if we would have had, if we would have done it again, I still had a chance. She's big though.
And you jumped up weight.
She's a big woman.
You had to gain like 20 pounds, right?
Oh yeah, I was fighting at 142, 3, and then I weighed at 162, which I really did.
That's a lot.
I weighed with fatigues on and quarters in my pockets, army boots, the whole thing. I weighed 147.
But and that's one thing I always wondered. I always wanted to ask a professional boxer because I know one of my favorite boxers was Roy Jones Jr. I love Roy Jones Jr. But he lost himself when he gained all the weight to move up to heavyweight. Then he tried to go back down to welterweight. So physically, when you are going from like basically a 15, 20-pound difference, how did that? Were you sluggish in the fight? Like how would you how would you assess your physicality during the fight?
But I really didn't gain the weight. I still was 147.
Oh, you didn't gain it at all?
No.
Did you?
No, I was 147. I weighed
things in her boots. To
I
weigh
weighed in with army fatigues on, boots, and quarters in my pockets.
So you were 20 pounds lighter. So that's tough. That's tough.
Yeah. But I still believed in my punching power, and I believed that if I hit her on the chin, and I thought I would, that I would win, and it didn't work that way.
Is the when you talk about that, when you're spilling that out to us, is there something in your mind that says, like, I wish I could have rethought that and done it differently? Like, would you have wanted to maybe gain weight or any of that?
No, but I really thought that Layla, because she's so big and she's so tall, that she was going to come out, because she never came out and like jumped on an opponent. So I really thought she's going to use her size. She's going to jab me. We're gonna like work into this 10-round fight. That's not what happened. She came right out, jumped on me, hit me really good on top of my head with the right hand. First round, I was done. She just didn't know. I was done. I thought I was sideways, and I asked Jim in my corner. I'm like, "Am I walking sideways?" And he said, "No, you're fine. You're fine." But yeah, no, so I was done. First round.
Wow.
And I kept fighting, thinking it was going to come back. I would get back, but I didn't.
Let's Talk with Carl Lee is presented by attorney Frank Walker. Real talk, real experience, real results. FrankWalkerLaw.com. Comment on episodes or suggest topics at our Facebook page. Search for Let's Talk with Carl Lee and remember to like the page to become part of the conversation.
Let's face it, bad things happen to good people. Seriously injured in a car accident, trucking accident, injured in a grocery store, or even wrongfully arrested or falsely accused of a crime. Life happens, and when it happens to you, you will need sound legal advice and aggressive representation. That's when you call attorney Frank Walker at 304-413-0179. That's 304-413-0179. Lock it in your phone, text it to a friend. 304-413-0179. Or visit online at attorneyfrankwalker.com.
Yeah. You gotta work. You gotta work, grind, shine, it's mine. Gotta show everybody it's my time. Getting here, you gotta work, grind, shine. Never mind who talking down, cause they lying. Don't talk, you gotta work.
Welcome to Let's Talk with Carl Lee. Let's Talk is proudly presented by attorney Frank Walker. Real talk, real experience, real results. FrankWalkerLaw.com. Let the conversation begin on Let's Talk.
Okay, so training. Tell me a little bit about what it took. Let's just say for a huge fight that you're getting ready to fight. How long and somewhat of an idea of what you would put yourself through, not just the boxing piece of it, but like whether it be running, whatever that is. What commitment did you have to put in, food-wise, all that kind of stuff?
So food-wise is probably the hardest thing because I love
Sure
chocolate.
Lord.
We all love chocolate.
And I love Mexican food, so it was hard. But yeah, no, I got up every morning early, ran 3.5 miles because Angelo Dundee said you're not a runner, you're 3 miles. That's what Ali did. So I figured if the greatest did it, I'll be okay.
Right.
So my little track was 3.2 actually, and then I would do sprints. And then I would go to the gym and work about somewhere between 20 and 30 rounds. That was hand pads, heavy bag, shadow boxing, jumping rope, speed bag, all those things. And then I would go back to the gym and spar like 3 days a week. So, it was just boxing. I watched fights. I watched my opponent. It was 100%. My focus was on boxing.
So there wasn't much time for any so when you were off, you were probably more so watching.
I was never off. I really wasn't.
Yeah.
I just, because Don King could call me anytime. And when he called, I was actually one time I was home at Christmas here in West Virginia, and he called me on Christmas Day and told me I was going to fight January 12th or 14th. So I got in the car and drove back to Florida to be ready for the fight. The good thing was I was running. I was in shape. So
because you were still doing all your stuff.
Always ready, because how am I going to tell Don King no, I'm not ready?
Wow.
Because you might not get that call again.
Right.
And that's one thing I tell my guys. I'm like, you have to always be ready, because some major promoter might call me and say, hey, we need a 130-pounder to fight so-and-so because some just fell out. Be ready. Be ready. You have to be ready. You're a professional fighter. That means that's your job. Be ready all the time. You have to go to work every day. Whatever you do, be ready.
So coming from, like I said, a story boxing career, and now you are a promoter. So walk us through that steps. Like, how did you get involved in promotions, and kind of what are you looking forward to on that end?
So I kept trying to find a way to fit into boxing, and what am I going to do? My career's over. I tried training fighters. No one wants to work hard enough.
Coaching is not
athletes today just
I
don't
think
want
we
to
all
work.
tried that.
Yeah.
That ain't
Right.
That wasn't for me.
Yeah, ain't for me
so
neither.
I thought, let me get with the promotion, and my goal is to be on somebody's ride that gets to put one of those title belts around their waist, because I know how excited that was for me and how I felt so proud. And so I will be so proud to help somebody get that title and put that around the waist.
Do you find it hard to find the person that matches up with what you want to be able to give? And Hollis was talking about coaching, because I think players who played and was committed to the game, today it's hard to coach because you don't feel like you're getting from your players the commitment that you feel you want to put in. So
you want back what you gave.
Yeah.
And these young guys don't want to give back. They don't want to work that hard. I actually had a fighter here that was from Charleston, Anthony Sevilla. On his behalf, he called me once and he said, I have an opportunity to go to firefighting school and get a job at the fire department. And I told him, I said, look, Anthony, you could break your hand tomorrow in the boxing gym and never be able to fight again. Go do that. And he did. And so that's his career. But I was so excited about, I have this West Virginia fighter. I had him wearing blue and gold gloves coming out the country roads. I was excited. But that didn't work out. But yeah, that's one of the things I want from my fighters. I want to feel like they're working as hard as I worked and put in as much as I did and love it. You have to love it, because normal people do not get hit in the head for a living.
Right.
Yeah. You've got to have that.
I think that's sort of the missing link. I think that you can have all the talent, you can have ability, you can really have everything, but in not just particularly boxing, but any combat sport, any collision sport, you really, really, really have to love it. And I think that's what separates those professionals from amateurs, those who are okay, good from great. You have to love it. You have to be in love with it. Not only, just what happens on fight night, but you have to be in love with probably the whole process of it.
Absolutely. And you're so right though about social media and all this stuff, the branding. Mm-hmm. It's just taken, I feel like now we have fighters that's all they're worried about is their brand and their social media accounts and how many followers they have. And they forget to go to the gym and learn the basics and to learn how to be a fighter. But they're using boxing to promote themselves. I mean, Jake Paul's making a lot of money.
Yeah. And promoting yourself doesn't necessarily, and I'm going to use football, promoting yourself, all over Facebook, all social media, it doesn't make you a great player. Just because you say that, you had 3 sacks in a game, that doesn't qualify you as being a great player or even a great defensive lineman for that matter. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But I think they think if they get 1,000 views, they're good. That's all I need.
Yeah, that's what it's becoming about.
It's a whole different world out there now, isn't it? All of us. It's kind of left me. But anyway, so Christy, I'm going to go back a little bit. My husband and I think we've all alluded to watching your movie, Deal with the Devil. And we knew about all your great accomplishments in boxing and all the things that you did, in your past career. But we did not have the idea of the dark times you endured during that period as well. Was that film difficult for you to make because of that, because of the history of the dark times with your ex-husband?
I think it was very important for me to make, to do. As I said, I'm pretty sure I said this in the documentary. I haven't watched it for a while, but I made a deal with God from my hospital bed. And I said, God, if you'll just let me live, I promise you I'll help somebody. I'll help one person before I leave this earth, not have to walk through that same path that I walked. And then, as I say, the arrogant me came on board and said, no, you need to help somebody every day. And that's why I'm here with you guys. We're going to talk about domestic violence a little bit. And hopefully somebody hears. Or maybe they just hear about the boxing story. And that'll give them strength that, if she can do boxing, because there was no path before. There was no one for me to follow. No path before, right? Mm-hmm. And I believed that I could get it done. And so hopefully people that are in a tough situation with domestic violence can say, wow, if she did it, and nothing special about her. She's just a coal miner's daughter from Southern West Virginia. I can do it. And so that was my deal with God.
She is an amazing person.
Yeah, and you should come into the locker room before a football game.
Absolutely.
and tell that story. And I mean, that to me, that's something, because you're giving away something that is personal, private, but you make it seem so inspirational, as if it didn't touch you. But here, look, everybody else, this is how you can get better. And I don't know if I've ever heard, I'm going to give you this prop. I don't know if I've ever heard anybody who's been an athlete in any sport at any time define that a negative part of your life and make it into something positive for everybody else. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I've ever, if somebody's ever hit me with that, and it hits me here in the gut, and I'm like, it's like, that's special.
Thank you. But God left me here for a reason. I mean, I should not be here. This man stabbed me, punctured my lung, shot me, missed my heart by 2 inches. I should not be here. But God has a bigger plan for me, and that's being here with you guys. We're going to talk about domestic violence. We're going to talk about life. We're going to talk about doing it. And whatever doing it is, it can be numerous things. It could be whatever's happening in your life. It doesn't matter. We could cross over any bridge we need to.
I just need her to follow me around all day long and be my life coach. You can get this laundry done, Lisa. I promise you can do it. You can get the dishes washed. I don't know about the laundry, because you know what? I get so frustrated. Like, in dusting? Are you kidding me? Why do you dust? Because it just comes right back. By the time you get to the end of the room, there's dust where you just left. You're right.
I hate it.
Right. I do too.
And again, to that point, you walk so many paths, and you've done so without sort of a pathfinder, right? You've sort of set these paths, and like I said, coming out of Southern West Virginia and rising, and not only rising to the top, but going through the adversity and still coming out on the other side. Because again, I follow boxing pretty closely. I don't know too many female promoters at this point either. So that's another path. So, and I know Coach Lee talks about it all the time. Do you feel like, just like West Virginia, do you feel like sometimes it's like, man, they don't know enough of my story? It's like, do you feel like it's hard to get it out here sometimes, like where they should know this? Because like I said, I knew, but I didn't know.
Before you go,
and I know he's going to jump right in.
Yes. Let me just help before you say it, so that if anybody who's listening to the show, I said it first, okay? Mm-hmm. I think West Virginia has done a super poor job on promoting its athletes, its people who have stood up, done things, and we just don't want to. It's like we forget them, like we let them go without any story. How do you have a movie? Okay, how do you have a movie and there are kids who still don't know her name?
Yeah.
How is that possible? Whose fault is that? I mean, that's all media. There is no reason. I'm telling you, I am so happy that you're here. Like, this is like Christmas for me. Okay,
thank you.
For all of us.
And it bothers me. I hate that you brought it up, but I'm glad that you did.
Well, I had to bring it up
because it really bothers me to think that there's a possibility that without you being on the show, somebody doesn't know you, somebody missed you, somebody didn't see your show. That makes no sense to me. Not in West Virginia, not how huge you are to me, in my mind, in West Virginia. What you've done for West Virginia. You carried that name every fight.
The coal miner's daughter.
The
coal miner's daughter. I came out to Loretta Lynn. I actually went to see Loretta Lynn and asked her. I got her blessing to be the coal miner's daughter. So, Jim Martin, would always tell me, West Virginia doesn't support you. And I would fight him because I didn't want to think that West Virginia didn't support me. But and it's a little bit old school, right? It's still old. It was in the 90s, especially. And so there was less people open up to women's boxing because I was just a woman fighter. If I had been a man fighter coming from West Virginia, I think I would have got a lot more support.
Yep.
Well, I as a football player, it didn't work for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I truly don't feel like that I got enough attention to the career that I had. Sounds arrogant, but with the career that I had, I don't feel like the media covered me to a point that I could be an inspiration to another kid. Not for me, but just so that another kid could say, oh, well, Carl Lee, he came from Old Spring Hill down on Greenway. If he could make it, I could make it. Yeah. And to me, my whole frustration with that is just because we're not passing on. We're not being able to pass on our skill set, our success to kids who may want to dream the same dreams that we dream.
And I think it's to that point, but I think there's a special thing about coming from West Virginia and you being able to make it to that sort of limelight where, because a lot of times here the mentality can be smaller and you don't really think that big. You don't really dream that big. And then when you have somebody who NFL, Pro Bowl, boxing champion, I think it really adds value to those kids to say, hey, yeah, I'm from this small town. I'm from this small neighborhood, but I can do big world things. And I think part of our mission on this show is to really highlight that. Like we had Kurt Warner on the other day. And you know what I'm saying? So we want to really give a voice to those West Virginians who really not only impacted maybe their communities, but impacted their sport, impacted the world through their sport.
Yeah. And, and talking about Kurt, he's the best back in the nation. He comes out of high school as the best back in the nation.
Pineville.
Out of Pineville, and you've let him just fall by the wayside. You don't want to know anything about his career. Nobody wants to call him and say, hey, I'd like to do an interview on you and talk about, your career.
Well, we did.
Yeah, we did.
I know all about Kurt Warner because he played at Pineville. I went to Mullins High School, so he ran lots of touchdowns on all sides.
and I played with him in the North-South game, and me and a buddy of mine, we couldn't wait. And I told him this story. We couldn't wait because he was getting the O.J. Simpson Award, which should have been enough for us. But we were like, I want to see how good he is, right? So we waited on him. We helped him with his bags, and we're like, okay, we have to wait and see how he gets on the field. And soon as he gets on the field, we were like, oh shoot, yeah, he's different than everybody else, yeah, and to me, I feel like you're in that situation where you've done something so amazing, so great, so unbelievable, and West Virginia is not celebrating that.
Well, we celebrating it here.
Yeah, we are definitely celebrating it
just
here.
Before you go, like, tell us just about your fighters, about your promotion. Like, what do you have coming up? And a new book. You got a new book too.
So I have a book that was written by Ron Borges, who you guys might know from he wrote Boston Globe all the time, covered football, baseball, everything.
Oh, okay.
He's a Hall of Famer, actually,
okay.
Ron Borges. So we have the book out. We have the Netflix documentary. I have a movie coming out with Sydney Sweeney playing me.
Sweet.
Which is going to be cool. Yeah. And I am a promoter. So July 18th, I will be promoting a show from Pechanga, which is Temecula, California, Casino Hotel. Mm-hmm. Pretty exciting. It's going to be on millions.co if anybody wants to watch that pay-per-view. And then we have a fight coming up at the minor league baseball field, the Chihuahuas.
Nice.
In El Paso. So we have that coming up in October. October 4th, this is really important to me. October 4th in Altamont Springs, Florida, I'm going to be doing a black tie event for raising money for domestic violence awareness. So that's like that's the number one thing in my brain. I
Right.
want to
for sure.
promote that show. But
Yeah.
and then we have an amateur tournament in Tulsa. That's September 11th.
And where can people find you, get updates about all the stuff you have going on?
ChristyMartin.net. And then I do speaking stuff as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I know my guy's going to fuss at me if I don't throw that out there. I speak at prisons, at high schools, domestic violence centers, wherever anybody wants to talk about domestic violence will allow me to talk about domestic violence awareness. I'm all in, 100%.
Nice.
And she's
And
also,
I always want to help West Virginia. So anything I can do to give back to my state, I want to do that.
she's also a dog lover. So
Clearly.
The dog here.
you'll see a picture of Champ on my Facebook page later. So love it.
All right. Well, anybody have anything else?
Thank you so
No,
much.
just thank you
Thank
for
you.
being here.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for all
It's
you
awesome.
represent. Like I said, when I saw the story and really learned what it was about, not only, like I said, you just like, to me, just being that, like I said, that setting that path to me is just so huge, and coming from where you coming from and doing all the things that you're doing. So I really appreciate you, and thank you for everything.
Thank you.
I appreciate you coming on. So,
Come
Anytime.
back.
and
Please,
yeah,
anytime.
come back. Yeah.
when the movie comes out, let's do it.
Yeah.
That's a
let's do
fact.
it again.
So we'll hold you to that one.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get out of here, and we'll see you again.